Today we're going to be looking at a video on where the United States breaks apart. If this happened, well, first of all, a lot of powers like China, Russia, and all those things may begin, kind of starting to expand their borders, since without, the West, properly sanctioning them, and unable to, threaten them in a way. Russia may expand its borders outwards to, I don't know. They just may expand their borders outwards, I guess, to here-ish. In Europe, may start, advancing here. Yep, they literally just reforming the Soviet Union. Yeah. Without that, yeah, that would be a big problem. China may start invading Mongolia. Maybe invade India and take these parts and help. Yep, Kashmir. That thing exists. Anyways, let's take a look at the USA. So, first of all, we're gonna be looking at the angry boy here of the gang, Texas. They start off very angrily, and they play offensively. At first, they begin to attack. They send in troops into Oklahoma, and weakening their defenses in the area. Eventually pushing up, capturing the Panhandle, sweeping in, and the country falls. Full annexation here. Next up, they go after Louisiana because, well, so yeah. Texas then declares war on Louisiana. Yeah, not good for the country, but very, 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 very good for Texas. Yeah, because all they're doing is gaining land here. They begin starting to push into Louisiana with immense force. As they begin to push around, split, and attempt to split the country into two. Well, states, I should say. Anyways, eventually they start pushing down, swooping around, boom. They push over here, and they encircle a huge Louisianan army, and eventually destroy it. Now moving down south, we see a large Texan army pushing outwards, while we see another offensive take place, cutting them off from the north. So yeah, as we can see, Texas has been very expansionist, if you know what I mean, because they've just been expanding, like a wildfire. So yeah. Anyways, moving on. So I don't know why this is colored in. Hold on a second. Also, this isn't the map I usually use. It's just a map that I've had for a while now. Anyways, Texan troops eventually realize what they can do, as a large Louisianan army begins to crush into Texas. Austin lays about right here, so they don't want that to happen, so they immediately get a counterattack placed on them. To this, and finally this. Texan troops beginning closing in on the encircled army in Louisiana, eventually capturing it, and now they are moving down south to cut the country into two. They begin squeezing in from all sides. They push down, sweeping along the coast, while completely cutting an army off from the coast. Wow, that army fell fast. Eventually, the last dying Louisianan troops eventually capitulate to Texan forces, and well, it is full annexation, boys and girls. I tell you, full annexation. I know, crazy, right? Now the borders just look a bit ugly, said Texas. They take a look over at New Mexico and say, "Hey buddy, you doing alright?" And they say, "Well no, because you're very expansionist." But they declare war anyway. Immediately with Arizonan support, they begin pushing down south into Texan lands, and pushing around the coast, around the border with Mexico, while an offensive in northern New Mexico takes place by the Texans. the New Mexicans attempt to push in as far as they can. Eventually, they are stopped. Eventually they are stopped and they get pushed back, basically all the way to their border. Except they miss out a few lines. But don't worry, they eventually capture it. And now it's time for the full-on attack. Texan troops begin rolling in to New Mexico. As armies attempt to kick back the attacking Texans, but in all, it fails. Uh-oh, said the New Mexicans, being invaded from all sides. Yeah, to be honest, being invaded like this is probably the worst way to be invaded. It's using similar strategies to the Russo-Ukrainian war right now. Anyways, eventually those spikes that Texas made are eventually encircled and captured. Yeah. And they begin rolling in, cutting them off from what looks to be Kosovo. You know what I mean? You know? See the similarities? Look. So that's Kosovo. Picture that in your mind now. Or Kosovo, whatever you want to call it. I'm British, so I call it Kosovo. And this is, yeah. Anyways, it gets encircled. Armies begin pushing in faster than ever as Texas begins an all-out spearhead to cut the country in two. The spearhead is successful, cutting the country in two. They now begin pushing outwards with many fronts and many generals saying, haha, this is so easy. Which it is. It is. Eventually they capture this amount of land before they eventually surrender. Peace treaty. And now Texas makes borders that look even worse than they originally did. Oh, and also they make a puppet out of the rest of New Mexico. Arizona and California now form an alliance. They are now both in an alliance. Yeah, allies. Anyways. Okay, moving on now. So, for now, Texas is done with its Texan Empire. And, yep, it just kind of leaves it there. Yeah. Now it's time for Florida's time to shine. You know what I mean by that. Anyways, they're looking a bit north, if you know what I mean. And they're thinking about, maybe making some of these nice, juicy borders, bro. Making the greater Floridan nation. I'm definitely not being forced to say these words because one of my friends is Floridan. Anyways, yeah. So first of all, they declare war on Georgia, followed by Alabama, and then Mississippi. Not good for any of these countries, but they push in with some troops, I guess. Georgia is just, yep. Do I even need to say anything, about this? This is just sad. Georgia is just slapped in the face. Yeah, but by doing this. The Floridans, kick them out of their territories, I guess, and they start pushing inwards and eventually encircling a huge Alabama army. Very, very hello, Judah. Anyways, anyways, eventually, Alabama just kind of surrenders, as well as Georgia, but Mississippi holds out strong, kind of. They just want to make sure they keep this river, the Mississippi River. Well, an unknown fate awaits them. So, yeah. Florida just got thick. Oh, and, yeah. Anyways, peace treaties. Peace treaty time, baby. Peace treaty. Yeah. Just like how I told you earlier, they were gonna make the great Floridan Empire. Now, since both of these countries have puppet states, they say, "Hey, I hate you," and the other says, "Hey, I hate you too." So, oh, and also, if you don't mind me, just doop doop, and boop. Oh, and boop. There you go. So yeah, California and Nevada unified. Yep. Anyways, after some tense fighting right here between the two, saying, "Hey, I hate you," and then I'm saying, "Hey, I hate you more." No, I do. And then this went on for a while until Texas couldn't handle it anymore because they were too busy using their guns. To the point where they kind of declared war on them. Maybe they may or may not have declared war. Yeah, that really isn't good for Florida. Right off the bat, we see Texan troops moving into Florida and pushing into the Mississippi puppet states as the two brothers begin sending in more and more forces, which eventually managed to repel the attacks. The Texans make an even bigger push, making a small spearhead, pushing down south, while an army up north attempts to cut off the Texan army, which eventually goes successfully, and the Texan troops are now trapped, as they begin a plan to cut them off. The plan is successful, and the troops surrender. Yeah, that's not good. That really isn't good. Floridan troops begin closing in on the Texan troops, as another Floridan army begins closing in on the other Texan army. Texas is scared, as usual. Yep, Florida just kind of kicks them back all the way to the border, as they state, "We are the old Ohio." Yeah. Anyways, Floridan troops begin moving into California. Not California, Texas. Speaking of California, both Arizona and California declare war on Texas, giving them an even broader front to worry about. As troops from Arizona, already stationed at the border, begin closing in on the New Mexican areas. Doesn't that mean? Yeah. Anyways, they begin sweeping along, and yeah, that's all they do for now. While the fight is much bloodier on the other side, Floridan troops just kind of sweep in without any hesitation, as they also cut off the Louisianan areas of Texas. They do that, which is really good and kind of them because they can. Yep, which falls into Floridan hands. Yep. Anyways, begin another counterattack as Texas and the New Mexican puppets. As the New Mexican puppet state proceeds to die. Anyways, so yeah, things aren't looking good for Texas. I mean, they're being pushed in from over here, So yeah, that's not good. That really isn't good for Texas. So what do? They say peace treaty, but no one really wants to because they just kind of want to take all of Texas lands. But they agree to it anyway because they can. Right then, these are the new borders. Oops, forgot to fill this in. New borders. So, I basically redrew every state but worse. So, yeah. Hold a second. So if I just do that, and that, boom. So yeah, now Florida has a big empire. And poor little guys, they barely get anything out of it. Except for Mississippi, though. They get a decent amount out of it. You can get some land that they didn't even attack. Like any of them. Yeah, I know the borders were cleaner. Yeah. So that looks good. Now we have bread land. Yeah. So yeah, you can kind of see here. Look, it's 3 o'clock in the morning right now for me, and I do not want to be up all night just recording this video. Cause look, man, I am tired. Okay, I even look very tired, and I'm never used to admitting to that.